And it's time for Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. Tonight, Mark Gotz has the night off, and he has sent in a really good host for him tonight. You're going to love this one here. From the St. Lucie County Department of Public Safety and Division of Emergency Management, our Public Safety Director for St. Lucie County is hosting the show tonight, Ron Parrish. Good evening, Ron, and welcome to the show.
And thank you very much, and thanks for having us. And Mark, appreciate you letting us have an opportunity to share a little bit about the Department of Public Safety this evening. And thank you all for whoever's listening.
Now, are we going to talk about hurricane preparedness tonight? That seems to be the big...
Well, we are going to touch on that a little bit, but before we get started with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Department of Public Safety, which, of course, I'm the director of. And so, because it does a lot more than just...
It's not just hurricanes, right?
It's not just hurricanes. You know, emergency management has a great deal to do with our hurricane preparedness, but with the Department of Public Safety, you know, we have our animal safety.
Right.
So we also have marine safety.
Okay.
And we have our radiological division, and of course E911, and then emergency management. So and so with our animal safety, you know, we're a pretty busy little operation. We currently have about 4 employees that cover the unincorporated St. Lucie County, and of course they cover everything from complaints about animals running loose or pets running loose to vicious dogs, and so they're pretty busy for the operation that we have. And then, of course, there's marine safety. And marine safety, we currently protect 3 beaches here in St. Lucie County. Right. We have Pepper Park, Waveland, and then on the weekends we cover the South Beach Park. So we have about 10 ocean rescue lifeguards. Most are full-time, but we do have some part-time positions.
So we don't always see these people, but they're out there.
Well, animal safety you may not always see, but they are out there every day of the week. So, and actually, quite frankly, the weekends are pretty busy as well, so they're out and about. With marine safety, you know, they're covering those beaches 24/7, 365 on Waveland and Pepper Park. South Beach is only covered during the weekends. And then, of course, you know, we have the nuclear power plant that sits out on the coast, and we have a division that provides the radiological planning for the county and its operations. So we have currently 2 employees that manage that program, and we do a lot of exercises throughout the year, and we're actually evaluated by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and also involved with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So it's really important that we have good plans, a good preparation, and we exercise those. And we do that quite frequently, but every other year we're evaluated with FEMA.
All right.
And then we have our E911. And all calls, we are the primary answering point for the county. We are the only answering point. So all 911 calls come in through our Emergency Operations Center. And currently we're receiving about 480,000 calls a year.
Wow.
And so they come in, and we primarily dispatch for all the law enforcement agencies here, St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office, Fort Pierce PD, and the Port St. Lucie Police Department.
Is it still hard to zero in on cell phone locations?
Actually, we've come a long way. We can get within just a few feet from it. So the ability to identify that location, and they triangle in on the phones, and we're pretty spot on with that. And then if it's a fire rescue, we transfer that call, and we'll send it over to fire rescue to dispatch. So, and then of course our emergency management division, and I have with us here our emergency operations manager Gustavo Vilchez, and Gustavo's been with us just over a year.
Yeah, just shy of 2 years, actually, Ron.
And so he's been with us through Irma.
Correct.
And he's helped me out quite a bit in putting together a good plan for the county that involves a number different outside agencies and entities, as well as our internal organization. So I was going to let Gustavo talk a little bit about emergency management since we're in the season.
Okay.
And since it's, like I said, it's hurricane season. And so we've been working diligently to polish up our plan and to make sure the stakeholders are trained to the best of their ability. So, Gustavo, I'm going to go ahead and give you the show here for a little while.
Sure. So in emergency management, we talk about four major phases. We talk about preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. And, a lot of people think that the emergency managers do nothing for half of the year, and then here comes hurricane season, and that's when we work. And that's not true. If anything, I think we work even harder during the non-hurricane season in preparing our community. So we start with the planning process. We review all different types of plans. We talk about these plans with our different committees and also including the public. And once we refine and these plans, then we go into the training mode. So we train staff, we train also the community in different areas. We do outreach presentations. So all this is part of that training and preparedness area. And then we do exercise. It's very important to figure out if these plans really do work. So by doing these exercises, we look for these situations in which we can think of ways of how we can catch our staff off guard. So that way they understand much better when the real situation comes along, how they can respond. And so this all comes along in this preparedness phase. So it's not just about June 1st, boom, it's hurricane season, now we go to work. Nope, we do this all year long. And hopefully we will not have a hurricane hit us, knock on wood, I always do that. But we always working on this situation. And so Ron, you told me about the hurricane season. Yeah, well, so I talk a lot with the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, and also with the state meteorologists. And so they all were kind of in agreement to let us know that this year they call it a slightly above average hurricane season. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that according to their numbers, an average season is about 12 regular tropical storms and hurricanes. Out of that, you can see about 6 hurricanes that could be anything from category 1 to a category 5. And from there, you could see about 2 major hurricanes, and that means hurricanes that are category 3 through category 5. Well, this year, as a slightly above average, we're looking about 11 to 17 named storms, maybe slightly lower than that. Out of that, we could expect about 5 to 9 hurricanes, category 1 through 5. And out of those, 2 or 3 major hurricanes can come out. Now, it doesn't mean that those are going to hit Florida. Okay, it just means that that's just the outlook of the storms that impact the Atlantic basin. So either way, in emergency management, we all say that it only takes one. I mean, Ron, we know
Don't let your guard down.
Exactly.
Always have a plan.
always have a plan and practice that plan. Exercise it. And, it only takes one. We always give the example in our community talks that in 1992, it was an El Nino year. And as we know, El Nino means that we have a very dry season in the Atlantic basin, and supposedly we don't have that many storms come along. But guess what? The first named storm of the season, Andrew, came along, and boom, it hit us. So we always tell everyone, it only takes one. So regardless of what the season outlook is like, we always say, practice your plans, have your family preparedness plans in place. So
of course, we know that Andrew was one of the most devastating storms to hit Florida, but also in the nation. So you just don't know. So make sure that the folks at home that are listening and your friends and neighbors, make sure that you have a plan, that you have your medications, your waters, your supplies, your batteries, your radios. These things are important if we lose power. These are important that you have medications to last you for some period of time. So please don't take not having a storm for granted. So have a plan and be prepared. So Gustavo, we talk about the community and the citizens having a plan, and so we have a plan like you were talking about earlier, and we work with several agencies. You want to tell us about the different types of agencies that we work with within the county and the state?
Sure. So we follow the best practice model that FEMA offers. It's called the whole community model, in which we work with everyone in the community, recognizing that the community is very important, that we tailor the preparedness needs, and those response needs eventually come about. And with that, we work together with several governmental agencies like the Health Department, for example. They are a major partner, and they work with a special needs shelter.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and take a little break here. You're listening to Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. Our Issues and Answers tonight has to do with emergency management. Everything from hurricanes to maybe even Homeland Security. Who knows? You've got to stick around and find out. Because 'tis the season to be aware of hurricane safety. We're going to be right back in just a couple moments with more Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. Ron Parrish in for Mark Gotz. We'll be right back.
If as a woman you believe that you can accomplish all that a man can accomplish and more without the help of the government, you just might be a Republican. If you believe that you should have a say in your child's education and that you should have a choice as to where your child is educated, you just might be a Republican. To learn more, go to stluciegop.org and click on Being a Republican. The Republican Party of St. Lucie invites you to meet your Republican candidates on Saturday, August 11th from noon till 4 p.m. at the Port St. Lucie Civic Center. Candidates from the school board to U.S. Congress and in between will be on hand. Come ask questions and get answers. No spin, no fake news, just you and the candidates. Get informed, be informed, vote informed. For more information, go to stluciegop.org. Paid for by the Republican Party of St. Lucie, not connected with any specific candidate.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. And tonight, Mark Gotz has sent in a very special host to the show tonight from the St. Lucie County Public Safety. He's actually the Public Safety Director, Ron Parrish.
And thank you again, folks out there listening, and you want to get some answers in regards to the hurricane season and preparedness. And just before we went into our advertisement break, Gustavo mentioned one of our partners as being the Department of Health. And of course, with that comes a lot of responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities is our special needs shelter. So I'm going to have Gustavo talk a little bit about our special needs shelter and give you some information in regards to that.
Sure, Ron, absolutely. So we defer coordination during what we call gray skies and emergencies to the Department of Health in St. Lucie to coordinate the special needs shelter, which is located at the Harvard L. Fenn Center. And so in order for someone to be at the special needs shelter, the person needs to first do a registration. So we call it pre-registration, and we highly recommend it to do it now, what we call blue skies. And so the best way for someone to register would be to go online at the website, which is www.specialneedsonline.stlucieco.gov. Again, let me repeat that, is www.specialneedsonline.stlucieco.gov. A person can also call our phone number, which is 772-462-8100. And so if someone has questions of what kind of people should be at the special needs shelter, well, we define that at the website. And so basically, a person with special needs is basically someone who requires a level of care and resources beyond the level of care that is provided at a general population shelter. So, for example, if that person needs electricity to keep medications cold, definitely that person should be registered for the special needs registry.
If someone needs oxygen, again, something above what you would find in a general population shelter. But it's important for you to pre-register. It helps the Department of Health and Emergency Management plan for the number of attendees in the special needs shelter. Of course, so we can plan and we can prepare for everything from oxygen delivery to food. So if you can pre-register or have your caregiver pre-register, again, Gustavo gave you the online address to go and do that or to reach out and call us.
And so far, Ron, we have reportedly 688 registrations. And I'll tell you this, right before the landfall of Hurricane Irma, we had a definite spike in registrations. Of course, everyone wants to register at the last minute. And so we highly recommend to do it now when it's relaxed, when there's no storms out there, than trying to call in at the last minute to get into the registry.
That's like waiting for the storm to get here before you go online and find all the resources that the county has for you, right?
Exactly
And
right.
that's,
Don't wanna wait that
that's
long.
exactly what happens. And please, take the time, go online, make the phone call, get pre-registered. It not only helps you, but it helps us as well. And like Gustavo was saying, there was a tremendous spike in the number of calls that we were receiving just before the storm. And so if you can get out in front of it, please do. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so also the rest of the information that the public can obtain on anything preparedness for any kind of storms, they can go to our public safety site, which is www.stlouisco.gov/EOC. That stands for Emergency Operations Center. And so another thing I want to mention around that, we just don't leave everyone out into the cold. Should we see that there's a storm coming this way, not only do we accept calls for registrations for the special needs shelter, but we open up our public information line. And this is activated, when we know there's an imminent storm coming our way.
And that number is
Yeah.
broadcast not only across the radio stations, but TV stations as well. And it's a general information line for the citizens or visitors of St. Lucie County. So if you need information, we can get that for you. One of the other programs that we have and are responsible for is to shelter our general population shelter. And we partner with the school board and our community services folks and some of the other volunteers, the Red Cross, that assist us with that. And so we currently have, I'll let you talk about how many shelters, general population shelters we have and where they can find out the information as to their locations.
Sure, Ron, absolutely. So in St. Lucie County, we have 12 shelters, and we call them primary and secondary. But what's important for everyone to know is that if you go to our website, you can also obtain the emergency shelters and evacuation routes map. This map shows all the areas where folks need to evacuate. Of course, just to name generally, an area to evacuate are the barrier islands, low-lying flooding areas, and areas where there are mobile home parks.
Yeah, manufactured homes, yes.
That is correct. And so besides the special needs shelter, St. Lucie County started opening up a pet-friendly shelter. And so this was last year for Hurricane
Yes.
Irma.
And our pet-friendly shelter is at Westwood High School, and that is something that you need to pre-register for as well. And make sure that you bring food and water, and the dogs our pets need to be vaccinated. It's very important that occur, and then also they need to be in their own cages. So it is a great benefit to have the pet-friendly shelter, and so last year we did it, and I think we housed about 75 pets. But please pre-register for the pet-friendly shelter. Again, it's at Westwood High School. during an event.
And the best way to make sure you register is to call our phone number, which is 772-462-8100.
Well, we still have about a little under a minute before we go into state news at the bottom of the hour. And is everything on the St. Lucie County website that would pertain to the hurricane safety part of it? Because I'm sure there's some other areas that we want to cover besides just the hurricanes, because I'm sure people are concerned about, some of the national security problems that we've already had, some emergency situations in some schools, and maybe there's also the threat of terrorism, and we want to know if we're all prepared for this here, and that's what we're here to do tonight, right?
Well, of course, there you can get all the information you need online regarding our hurricane preparedness. And currently, St. Lucie County Public Safety is working with the law enforcement agencies for a school security system and a plan to manage an event in case, God forbid, something happened like that here in St. Lucie.
Excellent. More issues and answers coming up. Once again, Ron Parrish in for Mark Gotz. Stand by. We'll be back after state news.
5 or younger. Would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference?
To keep the confession from becoming public. They spiked last week, but gas prices are pointing a little bit lower again as we start the new week.
Kind of a downward trek for gas prices. They've been kind of pinballing around through the summertime. I would expect kind of more of that to continue through the rest of the summer, maybe even through the fall.
AAA spokesman Mark Jenkins in Tampa says the statewide average is $2.75 a gallon, up from a week ago, but trending down. Scorn for Al Sharpton. Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Gualtieri says the activist doesn't know what he's talking about when he calls for an arrest of the shooter in a Clearwater Stand Your Ground case and for Gualtieri to give up his badge.
It's called politics, and they're politicking. You know, the facts and the law matter. Learn the facts and learn the law, and then you can opine. But until you learn the facts and learn the law, but again, in politics, that's what you're going to get.
All 5 Democrats running for governor joined Sharpton in Sunday's protest. The Pinellas State Attorney's Office will decide whether to file charges against Michael Draka. Sheriff Gualtieri says at first look, state law grants Draka immunity in the shooting of Marquise McLaughlin. Saying goodbye. Governor Rick Scott, Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam, and other dignitaries paid their respects to Fort Myers police officer Adam Jobbers Miller, who died a week after he was shot while pursuing a criminal suspect. Officers from across the nation attended the service at Germain Arena in Estero. Speaking of the governor, Scott is heading to Colombia to attend tomorrow's inauguration of that country's new president, Ivan Duque. SpaceX is due to launch a Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station sometime between 1:18 and 3:18 Tuesday morning Eastern Time, carrying an Indonesian satellite. With news on the Florida News Network, I'm Gordon Bird.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. Call the Federal Tax Management Helpline that has been set up for you, 800-267-1344. Stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. If you owe more than $10,000 in taxes, call for free information and to see if you qualify. Take down the number now for the Federal Tax Management Hotline, 800-267-1344. That's 800-267-1344. 800-267-1344.
A new survey says Florida is one of the worst places in America for health care.
WalletHub.com compared all of the states and the District of Columbia, and Florida ended up ranking number 42, making it the 10th worst state in the country for health care. The Sunshine State is 50 out of 51 for the lowest percentage of adults who have health insurance and ranks 47th in the number of kids with coverage. Florida was also 38th in the percentage of adults who haven't seen a dentist during the past year. Rick Flagg, Tallahassee.
Those Wallet Hub rankings are based on 40 key measures of healthcare cost, accessibility, and outcome. The city of Key West is getting more than $1.7 million in federal assistance to help recover from Hurricane Irma, which left behind 137,000 cubic yards of debris. FEMA will reimburse 90% of the cost of removing it. NASCAR chairman Brian France arrested on DUI and drug possession charges on Long Island, New York. NASCAR headquarters in Daytona Beach says it will respond once it has all the facts. Gordon Bird, FNN News.
Nobody likes emergency disasters taking place, but eternal vigilance is the price of freedom. We must keep ready at all times for these types of things. We're doing just that tonight on Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. Public Safety Director for St. Lucie County, Ron Parrish.
Thank you again. And so Gustavo's been sharing a little bit about our emergency management operations. And over the last year or two, we've had some pretty significant changes in regards to our ability to communicate and the technology that actually has come into the center. And so, just like with our text to 911, so this is ever evolving. And we were one of the first counties in the state of Florida that did text to 911. But along with that, we were able to pick up an alerting system for St. Lucie County, and that's for all visitors and citizens of St. Lucie County. I'm going to let Gustavo talk a little bit about Alert St. Lucie.
Yeah, so Ron, Alert St. Lucie is a program powered by Everbridge, and it's at no cost to the county, and which is great because we're saving lots of dollars for our residents. And we have currently about 70,000 residents registered in this notification database, Ron. And I think that has been increasing. And so what does Alert St. Lucie do? Well, if someone registers with Alert St. Lucie, they will be able to receive alert notifications specific to St. Lucie County. For example, if there's any dense fog advisories, if there are any congestion in traffic, we send out those alerts. Especially
smoke from brush fires.
Especially that, how we had brush fires a few months ago. So we sent out Alert St. Lucie messages out to the community.
And we just sent one out last week for the sounding of the sirens for the power plant notification. So we send out an alert that tells people, please be advised, you're going to be hearing the sirens, and we took them through what that process was going to be through Alert St. Lucie, so they could get a phone message, right?
That's correct.
A text message or an email. And so this is a great tool, not only for us to be able to communicate with the citizens and visitors of St. Lucie County, because if they're in this area, they could be getting that through the iPause, and we'll talk about the iPause in just a minute. But it also is a great resource and tool for the citizens of the county, so they are notified of any type of events that we may have going on.
And so how to register for St. Lucie? Very simple. Go onto our website. Again, the website address for this is www.stlucie.gov/alert. Again, that's www.stluciec.gov/alert. And then once you go into that website, the person will then have to go through a few prompts, register, and they get to choose how they want to receive these messages. I personally would recommend text because it's easy to read and all that, but you can also receive them, like you said, in voicemails. You can receive the messages through text as well. And so these are very helpful, and you get to choose even what time of day you want to. Now, when it comes to, you mentioned iPause, when it comes to tornado warnings, those are automatically pushed out to the community by the federal and state government. We have no control over that. During Hurricane Irma, for example, there were like about 62 tornado warnings sent out. That was not our fault, but you know what? It's better to receive these notifications than none at all, and you have something dangerous out there.
And there was some type of activity that was being recognized through the National Weather Service that indicated that there was some type of tornadic activity, whether it's just a small wind circular motion, but Yes, there are a lot of them, but they're important, and they're important to pay attention to. But you need to do as well. You need to respond to them. So you need to answer them. Otherwise, you will get them on anything that you've been notified with or can be notified. So if you get text, please respond to the text. If you get an email, please respond to the email, or a phone call, and it's a simple push of the button to answer that you've received it, and we will be notified that you've gotten that information.
Yeah, that's correct. Like normally at the end of the message it says press number 1 to make sure that you receive this message. And what that does is lets us know about how many receivers received the call or the text, and that way we know the numbers, which helps us immensely. And so, do you want to move on to how the public can obtain further information on being prepared?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I mentioned our website, right? And that is www.stlucieco.gov/EOC. And that website, you can also receive the disaster preparedness guide, which is chock full of information on what list you should have available to buy supplies to be ready. Where are the shelters? I mentioned the map. It mentions how to register for Alert St. Lucie. It mentions how to register for the Special Needs Registry.
So we talk about having a plan and getting a kit. And so it's so important to have and be prepared to be able to sustain yourself for several days. And so that's including, non-perishable foods, water, medical supplies, batteries, flashlights, transistor radios. When we lose power, we think that we're going to have all these things, and you just don't. So it's important to be able to hear what's going on, and you can do that through those means. So build your kit and have it ready for the season.
Have a plan. Let's see, rehearse the plan, and pay close attention.
Get a kit.
Get a kit. Get a kit. We're going to be right back with more issues and answers. We're talking about public safety and disaster preparedness. And we'll be right back.
The Republican Party of St. Lucie invites you to meet your Republican candidates on Saturday, August 11th from noon till 4 p.m. at the Port St. Lucie Civic Center. Candidates from the school board to U.S. Congress and in between will be on hand. Come ask questions and get answers. No spin, no fake news, just you and the candidates. Get informed, be informed, vote informed. For more information, go to stluciegop.org. Paid for by the Republican Party of St. Lucie, not connected with any specific candidate.
St. James Christian Academy is fully accredited and is now enrolling for fall, preschool through 12th grade, providing students with excellent education in a safe Christian environment for over 17 years. They offer dual enrollment, a BECA curriculum, transportation, affordable aftercare, STEM classes, sports, dance, and karate. St. James Christian Academy is now accepting fall enrollment applications. Plus, ask about their free tuition scholarships. Be a part of the excitement. Schedule a tour today or visit us at stjameschristianacademy.com.
WPSL weather this hour is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning.
Another warm one across the Treasure Coast. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Weigel. We are looking at a few showers coming in along the coast, otherwise partly cloudy and warm overnight, around mid and high 70s with an ocean breeze. Umbrella may be needed the next few afternoons and evening, otherwise partly sunny and hot. Temperatures near 90. I'm Storm Team 5 Chief Meteorologist Steve Weigel for WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Thank you, Steve. And our marine forecast from the Sebastian to the Jupiter Inlet tonight. East winds at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will run 2 to 3 feet. We'll find a light chop on intracoastal waters. Weather this hour is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning, your hometown air conditioning company since 1982. For repairs or a whole new system, call 772-466-2400.
Comfort crisis? Don't roast. Call Seacoast.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. In for Mark Gotz once again, St. Lucie County Public Safety Director Ron Parrish.
And thank you again. And so, during a storm event, it's just incredible the number of people that's required to make this thing a success. Our Emergency Operations Center is just packed with all different types of agencies from law enforcement, fire rescue, public works, utilities, the whole 9 yards. But it goes beyond that. And so I'm going to have Gustavo talk a little bit about some of the assistance that we need and maybe some volunteer stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. So one of the things we always mention in emergency management is run from the water, hide from the wind. And why do we say that? Because one of the things is storm surge is the #1 killer during hurricanes. And so we always tell folks, get away from the barrier islands, get away from the flooding area. And if you see or hear tornado warnings, please find your safe place at home, which is an enclosed closet or door or room that there's no windows or glass around there. And so we also mentioned that St. Lucie County qualifies for the Class 5 in the community rating system. That means that residents who live in flooding areas or areas that tend to be flood prone, they can obtain a 20% discount in flood insurance. And so that also comes out of the emergency management program. So
right.
We work with that.
Actually, emergency management handles our community rating system as well as the National Flood Insurance Plan. And we just redid it, and so the county held strong in regards to its rating. So again, like Gustavo said, residents that live in these particular areas can get a discount on their flood insurance, and it's important. Without that rating, without that successful rating, you could be paying a great deal more for flood insurance. And of course, we had some challenges with flooding last year. St. Lucie County received some 22 inches of rain in a very short period of time. And so we saw the impacts in Fort Pierce and also up in the Lakewood Park area. So, it's a challenge. And so with that much rain in that short a period of time and no place for it to go, the waters rise. So again, take precaution, be prepared, have a plan.
And so we're talking about plans, right? Let me not forget the business community. Yes. Let's not forget that we talk about our families to have a family preparedness plan. Let's also talk about our businesses to have a business continuity plan. So we always say to everyone that 40% of all businesses, they tend to close due to a disaster. They 40% of businesses that close due to a disaster never reopen. Yep. And that is very important to know. And so those businesses that have the plan and know how to have the backup, how to back up their records, their information, how to make sure that they understand their employees to where to go, how to stay safe, those businesses
how to stay in contact.
How to stay in contact. Communication is very important. So businesses, those type of businesses tend to succeed a lot more than businesses that have no plans at all. And so the last thing, if we want our residents to really stay informed and be prepared, the best thing we also recommend is to be involved in your community in volunteerism. Well, there's a great umbrella organization out there that's in our communities. It's called Citizen Corps, and the Citizen Corps program has one particular one for communities called CERT, which is the Community Emergency Response Team. And so there are several CERTs. These are all driven by volunteers. It's run by volunteers. They prepare and they look for guidance to the EOC. We provide that guidance out to them. We help them out as much as we can with training and outreach events. But those CERTs, I tell you, they get prepared in all different ways, and they let their neighbors know how to stay prepared and how to communicate with each other when the time comes in.
And they help each other out, which is a great tool and a great asset for the local communities. And I know there are a couple of our homeowners associations that have developed these teams, and they know the pitfalls, they know the areas of concern, they know the neighbors that need to be checked upon. So if you're interested, please contact us at Public Safety, and we'll help you put together a plan.
Absolutely. One of the things that the skill sets that certs do is, and we're trying to enhance with them, is for them to understand the Skywarn system. That is a program that the National Weather Service offers, in which it trains folks to be what's called storm spotter, in which they're able to look at the clouds. And if there's a cloud formation that kind of looks tornadic in a way, not only can they just recognize that, but they'll be able to call the National Weather Service to let them know.
Yes.
And the National Weather Service confirms the touchdowns of tornadic activity through the storm spotters, through the Skywarn. So I mentioned CERT. Well, CERT, we're trying to get the CERT folks to be Skywarn certified as well, and to also be certified in AD CPR to help their communities.
Gustavo, this year, speaking of CERT, or last year I should say, you also did some training for one of our high schools, and
oh yeah, so we started out with a pilot program called the Teen CERT. So we started that with Fort Pierce Central High School, and that group was fantastic. I think we ended up with about 40 kids that they were dedicated and hungry to learn and understand how to best be safe and how to pass that information out to their classmates and to their parents and their community. So we take that Fort Pierce Central High School CERT team, they call themselves Cobra CERT, as their own community. They take care of their own school. And so this program not only has done so well, they also want to expand it to the other high schools. And so this year we're trying to push the teen certs into the other major high schools.
And so we get, in emergency management, we get some help from the state in that regard, right?
That's correct. So the state offers some grant money so that we can provide CERT training. And then from these CERT trainings, we can also modify them to be teen CERT. So now we're looking towards providing adult CERT classes, teen CERT classes, and CERT trainers. So then we can have trainers already in our community and continue these classes.
So we try to develop any and all resources that we can, because it takes a lot. It takes a community to manage something like this. So any of the help or volunteers that we can help in that regard, we're all in. So
we call it the whole community. We need everyone from the community, all different types of agency, nonprofit, the public sector, the private sector. I forgot to mention one more thing. So I mentioned businesses. We started this year in formulating the ESF 18, or Emergency Support Function 18, business and industry, where our point of contact from the county talks with different business, especially the major ones, to make sure that we understand what are their needs to assist them in an EOC activation or response, to make sure that those businesses go back and get back and running.
So I had mentioned a little earlier regarding technology, and last year we used a tool that we called SharePoint. And this year, with your help and assistance and some folks from IT, we're migrating to a new system for our internal workings of the Emergency Operations Center. But it not only works internally, it works with other agencies outside of the county, correct?
Absolutely.
And that's called Web EOC. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Web EOC.
So Web EOC is the premier emergency management system, communications and resource management system that's out there. We were fortunate to obtain it last year to prepare the system and all that for our folks in St. Lucie County. And now this year we rolled it out. And so in Web EOC, our partner agencies and points of contact can now get into the system web-based. You don't have to be at the EOC to run EOC operations. You can be at your own agency to take care of your agency's needs and communicate with the EOC and make resource requests on this. This is a great program. I think it makes a leap into today's technology. And with that, we have received a lot of good, positive feedback from all of our agency partners.
So it's a lot more efficient of a program in order for us, if there are needs there, if there are resources needed, if there are people that need, or additional agencies needed, we can simply go online and request those through the
Through
state.
WebEOC, yep.
Through
and-
WebEOC to wherever those resources may be, Division of Emergency Management, or FEMA, or wherever those resources might be, need to be requested from.
Sure, and of course, Ron, in every county, it is through the county EOC where we can make state requests to the state for resources coming down. Well, you know, with WebEOC, so many counties in the state of Florida, I think we're almost to the point that 90% of the counties are covered, are using WebEOC, if not maybe all of them. You know, now, don't quote me on that, but definitely in all these state meetings I've been involved with, the state has connected WebEOC to all the different counties. So now, not only all the counties can connect with each other, but they also connect directly with the state.
And that's very similar to our Alert St. Lucie. The state saw it as such a tool that they provided that tool, that mechanism to reach out to the community. So WebEOC is a very valuable tool. It's a great asset. The state is sponsoring and supporting it in many areas, and so it's a great tool that we see as making our operation more efficient.
You know, one last thing I want to mention, Ron, is that we provide outreach presentations to our communities. And so, for example, I've made presentations to the Vitalia community.
We're at the HOA meeting.
HOA meetings with Commissioner Townsend. And so if anyone, or if any community or agency partner wants to request a presentation on, we call it all hazard disaster preparedness, but you know, most people know it as hurricane preparedness. We'll be happy to comply and send someone out there to provide a presentation. And we have lots of these disaster preparedness guides. You know, look at this. This is just colorful. It's in PDF format. Oh yeah, I should show it to the cameras. and you know, you can download it, print out just specific pages to it. The disaster preparedness guide comes with lots of people love the tracking map. So it comes with a tracking map. It shows the shelters. It has so much information on how to be prepared in different types of emergencies, not just hurricanes or flooding events.
Like our radiological plan and preparing for evacuations. One of the key elements actually to our exercises is making sure that the roads are clear and that people have access to evacuate. And so, and the plan and the processes that we put in place, again, evaluated. And in 2020, in February 2020, which isn't that far away, we have a huge exercise that we're going to be going through with FEMA and with the NRC. And it's normally we evaluate about a 10-mile EPZ or evacuation preparedness zone. And this is going to go out 50 miles. So the plan is a lot more robust, and it includes a lot more federal agencies, state agencies, law enforcement agencies. And so we're actually preparing for that now and working to make sure we're successful then.
You mentioned volunteers a little while ago. Do people actually volunteer to work in the shelters and help out in the shelters, things like that?
It's a little shy right now in regards, but we would love to have some volunteers. What we do is we actually do internal volunteers because not every employee is an essential employee. Right. And so, and we have to help assist staffing the pet-friendly shelter, the general population shelters, the special needs shelters. Yeah. And so we are looking for assistance and volunteers in that area.
Yeah, community services. The community services department always looking for volunteers to assist in putting up tarps in people's homes after the passing of a storm. Yeah.
So if you feel like you have it in your heart to be a volunteer, you can certainly reach out to us at our website and as well by phone. So
that's www.stlucieco.gov.
Yes, sir.
And well, I guess you can go to Alert or EOC or any of the many links that you'll find there
on that website.
Right. And when there is, of course, a storm coming to our area, if it threatens our area, we go into full hurricane mode in the radio station here. We broadcast throughout the whole storm. We stay here. We lock ourselves in and turn on the generator when we need to. and we stay in close touch with the St. Lucie County Public Safety Director Ron Parrish, who's hosting the show for Mark Gotz tonight. Really interesting subject because it never gets old around here. There's always something new to learn.
We've been hit by storms the last 2 years, so we're prepared, we're ready, but let's knock on wood that we're going to get a break this year.
Well,
That's right.
Remember, we did go a number of years without any after 04 and 05 hurricanes, and we got complacent. We got a little too lazy in our thinking, and some folks had some major problems because they weren't ready, and we don't want that to happen again.
Don't let your guard down.
You've been listening to Issues and Answers in St. Lucie County. Mark Gotz did us all a really good favor tonight and had a public safety director for St. Lucie County, Ron Parrish. And, of course, let's see if I say your name right.
Gustavo Vilchez.
Along with us here tonight. And, hey, we're a little bit more prepared. Continue to do so by keeping it right here and watch that website, stlucieco.org, to find out all your emergency situations that you need to get help with. They've got it all on the web. And we've got it here on the air. By the way, you're listening to WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, celebrating 25 years and counting. Stay tuned for the Larry Elder Show. It's 7 o'clock right now.